This episode of Live at the Blue Box has been brought to you by Tweaked Audio.
To get awesome headphones, go to tweakedaudio.com and use the coupon code Southgate to get 30% off, free shipping, and a lifetime warranty. Or you can get there through the link on our website, southgatemediagroup.com.
Welcome to Live at the Blue Box. It's now time for a part tray of something con. I don't remember. What is it? Mini Mangi-Con.
Lots of Mania-Con. I don't know.
Yeah, post-Mania-Con. We got it. Yeah. Oh, look. Boo. No, I'm kidding.
All right.
Hey, where's the eclipse? We said so many nice things about you, you have no idea. And we even said we were going to be mean when you got here. And it wasn't me, it was her. Oh, I should bring that up. Thank you, Rich, before we get started.
Sure.
We have a box. Where is it?
That wooden box
No.
that everyone's pointing at.
I think William's hiding it. Hidden behind William. Here, hand it to my mom. Put it on that table. Or put it on back by Jacob. Be careful. Jacob will talk your ear off. We have a box for donations. If you had a good time tonight and you want to support Southgate Media Group, there is the box. That goes to us, not to Blue Box. They are their own business. Yep. But that helps support us, and it is greatly appreciated by our family, let me tell you. Put it on the table back there because they don't want to walk up to you guys. My dad has light fingers. He might, if you get too close. So, all right. Yeah, could you give my mom some money? All right, let's do this thing. Welcome to Live at the Blue Box. It is now time for part tray of Post-Mania-Con.
Yes.
2016.
All the
Got
money.
it. And we now have somebody we've interviewed before, but I am so excited to have you here. We have Tom Kelly.
Hey, what's happening, folks? Woo!
1 year ago.
Yeah.
You
that's
were
right.
here.
Yeah.
That was Instant Con. That's where we walked over and said, hey, anyone want to be on?
Yeah.
And we had like a ton of people come over.
That was true. Yeah, you had like 6 or 7 people. I think.
Well, we had no idea. This time we just said we're just going to open it up, and whoever...
Yeah, you had hit me up ahead of time.
Yes.
You would contact me on like Facebook, I think.
Yeah. Well, you know what happened? I got the list from Comic Book Mania, and it was last year's list.
Oh, yeah.
So I sent everybody, I was like, oh, look, they're all here. And I sent everybody an email, and then
that's
half
kind
of
of
them
a
wrote back
fatal
and said,
flaw of like every show's guest list.
it's old.
They very rarely do a great job of updating it unless it's like 3 days before the show. Because whether you look at like a Wizard World or C2E2 or really anybody, it's kind of like until it's like 3 days out, they all say like, William Shatner's going to show up.
Right, and then it all changes.
Yeah.
But you know what? For Artist Alley, they should just put them all out there and let people know.
Yeah.
No,
I agree.
To me, it was like the list I was sent was last year's list, and I'm like I'm writing to people, and they're going, oh, my God, like Dave Gruba. He's like,
yeah,
I would love to be out there. I'm out of town. And I'm thinking, how are you out of town? Because it was last year.
Yeah.
So, now we've got you here this time.
Yeah.
Tom did you bring any art?
I have my portfolio with me over there.
Yeah, he did this. Yeah.
Yeah, could you just bring my portfolio over?
I want you guys to see Tom's art. Tom's stuff is so great.
It's coming around.
I have a question. I don't think I asked you this last year.
Oh, thank you.
Because my experience with your art is what I've seen at cons, what I see at DeviantArt, what I see online. And he does have a DeviantArt page, and it's great. Lots of really great stuff. Can I move this? Give you some room? Yeah, here we go. All right, I'm going to go silent for a second while I show this.
Yeah, if anybody wants to come up and just look through, feel free. I'll put it on over the table over there after we're done talking. Yeah.
There's a lot. I mean, it's just, there's a Doctor Who one for you Who fans.
Yeah.
I think there are a few here.
Yeah. ton of stuff.
I mean, it's really great. I took a picture of this one today, the Link one.
Oh, yeah.
And sent it to Brandon, who does We Know Games.
Oh, yeah.
And he wrote back, he's like, oh, my God. Like, he was freaking out.
Yeah.
What amazes me, though, is the volume that you produce. I mean, it's really unbelievable, Tom.
Well, aside from my actual, I work as a full-time illustrator. That's my that's my pink elf day job. You know, I should live in a hollow tree making cookies. When I say I'm a freelance artist and I work at home in my studio, everyone really thinks it's me and the rest of the cookies. The Keebler elves just like hey.
I didn't know they drew.
Yeah, well, they have two jobs. They have two
those
jobs.
Wiggly things.
The squiggly lines on the Milanos or whatever.
That's right.
But what I usually like to do is a warm up as well as a tool to promote myself, because some of the work for hire that I have, in fact, a good chunk of it, I sign non-disclosure contracts so that I can't show or talk about these things until they're officially released.
Okay.
So I'm always working on stuff, but some of it I can't display or talk about because I'm legally bound not to do that, whether it's for a game or a film or a commercial project or things like that. It's media. They want to release it the right way so you don't see a crappy trailer and go, like
the Ghostbusters one that leaked that was terrible.
Yeah, or and
then we heard of the movie's great.
Yeah, or
tonight.
seeing a shot of a sequence where the visual effects are only 3/4 of the way done.
And it can ruin it for people. Oh, that happened with the last X-Men when people saw
Oscar
Apocalypse
Isaac's
and they're like,
face,
it's terrible, and it's like that's not what he looks like.
So to make sure I always have something for people to see as well as promote myself, I take part in 2 art blogs, 2 online sketch blogs.
Okay.
I do one that is hosted by, it's called Challengers Assemble. It's by Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago.
Okay.
They're a comic book shop. They're a really good comic book shop, and if you have a chance...
Challengers Comics? Where is that?
It's right off the Western Blue Line on Western Avenue in Chicago.
I've never run across this one.
It's if you know where Margie's ice cream store
totally.
Is, it's just on the other side of the Blue Line L station.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
All
just
right.
it's just 3.5 blocks down.
Anyone been to Margie's before?
It's really good ice cream if you're
awesome.
ever in downtown
and
Chicago.
And they serve it in a big clamshell. You know those clamshells that...
Yeah.
But they serve it in a big
big
clamshell.
Yeah.
So I'll take a hot fudge sundae, and it's here.
Well, no,
boom.
you also get a gravy boat of hot fudge that you can pour onto it. You're like, oh wow, that's.
There's an insulin clinic right around the corner.
Yeah, pretty much.
So that's where Challenger. I didn't know that at all.
Yeah, no.
So anyway, you show on there.
Yeah, so I do on that blog, and that's primarily a comic book themed sketch challenge. Every week, it's a new character or theme, and you have a week to produce. An image, a drawing, a sketch, or whatever. So I usually take part in that. And then Wow, all right. We're live tonight, folks. And then also...
Rage, your dinner's ready.
Yeah. Then also I take part in another sketch blog. It's called the Sketch Lottery.
Okay.
The premise behind that is, again, it's a weekly drawing challenge, but... Every time you do the challenge, you can submit another theme of your own.
Okay.
And then it randomly gets chosen for the next week. So the more you do, the more chances are something that you suggest comes up. And that one's primarily...
Now, is that where some of these are coming from? Is you're doing these challenges and you're like, this one's tight, I'm putting it out?
Yeah, for example, I have an Aquaman piece here in the back. That was for the Challengers blog. That was for Shark Week. Several years ago. Let me see. It was 2012.
Okay. Here, I'm going to hold it up.
So, yeah. So usually I'll just take the theme and treat it, as a challenge, and I'll work it up to the level of finish I can achieve with my, that works in my schedule that week. Because sometimes I'll do a simple sketch, sometimes I'll do a full color illustration, sometimes I'll do something really silly or goofy, like a little Hello Kitty drawing or something like that.
Okay.
And that way it gives me something to always like just sort of keep putting out, because now there's so much information on social networks that you can get buried in a feed so fast that it does you no good to be like, oh, I do something maybe like once a month. You're like, no, you really have to just put stuff out as much as you can. Yeah.
Well, and one thing we've done, I mean, you know it, but one thing we've done, like from our Enough Said podcast on our Twitter, is we'll feature a character once in a while. And we'll say, okay, Monday is Daredevil Day. Yeah. And I try to find artists that we know from Artist Alley.
Oh, yeah.
And I try to put their stuff out. And I always put Tom's stuff in. Always. And I'll put, like, buy his stuff at DeviantArt. Because
well, yeah. I mean,
it's great.
It's funny, too, because I think I've been trying to do, like, sketch blogs for a while because, it's another person picking a challenge, and I like that I'm just not drawing the same reflexive things I like to draw all the time.
Okay.
I mean, I like to draw monsters. I'm a big Jack Kirby sort of kid. So, like, I like classic movie monsters and things like that. But
how much did you love that picture from Skull Island with the giant King Kong?
A ton.
Is that the greatest thing, man?
No, I love all that stuff.
I think I brought it up on every podcast tonight. It's so awesome.
But I mean, it can get so weirdly, like, the snake eating its tail of I only do what I like and I only like what I do.
Right.
And,
so you got to break out of that.
Yeah. So when somebody else picks the theme or the challenge, then I'm like, well, how can I make that work?
Yeah.
And so yeah, and I've been doing that for, I think they started that, it's maybe like 4 or 5 years old, just challengers. And I've done other ones that have actually faded, and I've found new ones. I used to do a video game one for a while where you just do different like video game concepts. And it's a super fun challenge. I always encourage everybody to do it because it's, practice makes perfect. You don't get to pick the theme, so you have to always go usually outside your realm of comfort.
Sure.
Because like one of my biggest weaknesses, I'm not a likeness. I'm not a portraiture artist.
Okay.
But there are times when I have to do stuff.
Yeah. Actually, this one, it's funny you brought this up. It's the
actor who plays Penguin.
Yeah,
Robin. Yeah.
It's funny because when I saw your stuff today, it stuck out to me because you don't typically see that from you.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't think I've ever seen a portrait.
Yeah, I really don't do very many likenesses.
You do. I mean, there's stuff.
They become
but this is really
for me. They become mechanical. They become like a math or a geography problem. It's like a chemistry experiment. You follow all the steps to get the likeness right.
Sure.
And
I like your use of negative space.
Yeah.
That's the thing that really gets me with your stuff. Like, I told you before, I mentioned your Daredevil print because I kind of obsess about the Daredevil prints.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a big Daredevil fan. I love artwork around Daredevil. I think that it can be... It's the Marvel Batman. Everyone likes their Batman prints. To me, it's that Daredevil has that same emotion to it. And yours, it fits that. It fits that dark, light silhouette of Daredevil. I love it. I just love it. So you showed me that you did a cover for a graphic novel. Oh, yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. Like I said, my day job is I work as an illustrator and comic book artist. I do a variety of different covers and interior work. Sometimes. So is that really, are you more of a cover guy or do you do interior work? Well, I mean, really I do both. Because a lot of people see my illustration stuff at shows, they contact me more to do cover work. Right. But I can do both. For example, Oh Yeah Comics. Yeah. I've done stuff for their kids, like Oh Yeah Comics. Oh, have you? Because me and Russell Lasau did a story in issue 4. Yeah, yeah. Wait, you did the one with Russell? Yeah, we did, yeah. That's so Crisis of Infinite Calories, yep. That's so funny, because when Russell was out here, we were talking about that. Yeah. I didn't realize that was you. Oh, yeah, no. That's so funny. And it's funny because in the one sequence... in that issue, the bad guys, the villains are making a plan, and they go to the blackboard. And Russell didn't have it written in at the time, but I turned it into one of those Wile E. Coyote, things where it's a super elaborate blackboard. Yeah, all the detail and everything, and it goes over here, and it becomes... Yeah, and it's all weird in-jokes with people I know. And that's awesome. The gang.
But yeah, so I wear many hats as a modern comic book artist and illustrator. So yeah, what you were looking at was Dan Doherty's book called Touching Evil.
I want you to tell what this is because it looks so fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll give you the premise on the book, and that's Touching Evil is sort of like an L.A. Law meets the X-Files. It's about a young female lawyer. Well, a 30-year-old female lawyer. She's established in her practice. She has to take over her senior partner's clients because he's terminally ill, so he's phasing out of his active period. One inmate case that she reviews is like a death row life, prisoner, but his crimes don't match up. Like when she looks at the case, she can't figure out why the guy is still incarcerated. When she goes and interviews him, she has a very weird conversation that she thinks he's crazy, but really what his deal is that he has this curse where if he touches anyone who's evil, they die. And the warden of the prison has been using him as sort of his version of like death row, as well as a way to keep like order among all
the herd without people knowing what's going on.
Also, he uses it as an enforcement to keep order in the prison. So like it's like if anyone mouths off or gets out of the way, the warden just shoves them into the room with this guy, and they eventually, the inmates want to be tough, so they start with them, and then as soon as they touch them, they die.
Not so tough.
Right. She, unfortunately, because the thing with that curse is you have to agree to take it. You have to willingly say, I'll accept your burden.
Sure.
And she thinks she's just placating a mental case, and when she takes it, then she has a bunch of problems, because as a lawyer, also, you don't know who's evil. She just has the power that if she happens to touch somebody and they're evil...
So if they shake hands, okay, we'll do the deal.
Right.
They could drop dead right in front of her.
And one of her big anxieties is her son's kind of a juvenile delinquent and a drug addict. So she's definitely afraid to touch her son.
Wow.
Because she doesn't know what'll happen.
Wow.
And then there are various factions that want to utilize that curse just like the prison warden did. And so it's a really very interesting book. It was kickstarted last year. Like I said, the writer and artist is Dan Doherty. He teaches at the International Italian School in Chicago, the Scala School.
Okay.
He's a good friend of mine, and he asked me if I'd do the cover for it because he had seen, again, my illustration work.
Yeah, right. Well, the cover is really cool, too.
Yeah, you can go to like Amazon, and you can Google, Touching Evil, the comic book, and you can see the cover. They're also, I know he's making T-shirts up too and stuff like that as part of the Kickstarter fulfillment. Sure. So yeah, really, whatever comes across my desk is the jobs that I usually get. Some are interior. I've done stuff for motion comics, for like motion pictures and things like that have never gotten released yet.
Right.
So I'm still kind of bound to be like, I've done.
Can't really
stuff,
tell you what it is.
Yeah. And then other things will be for like tabletop gaming, like D&D manuals. I do all sorts of...
We have people here that would be interested in that.
Well, then I do things for I do band posters for Chicago bands, graphics, all sorts of stuff. Just because, you got to stay busy and you got to eat, so you do a lot of jobs.
Yeah, sure.
And they're all fun. I like them. And usually at this point now in my career... when there's enough online, they can look and say, I like that, do something like that for me.
Yeah.
Which makes it a lot easier rather than can you draw like Alex Ross? And I'm like...
I don't want to pay Alex Ross's fee, but can you do that?
And I've had that. I've had people who were like, I love what you do, and then you clearly get a script from them. And it's like, you want Jim Lee to draw this? Yeah. I can tell you want that, and now it's just to the point where I'm just like, this is what I do. If you want it, do it, and if not, well, there are other people out there.
Yeah. Well, to me, I look at your stuff and I see your style in it. So I think that would be funny to come to you and want, even though I imagine you can do it, but I see something about what you do.
It's the catch-22 of, especially on a very indie level, you just want, in your mind, you want this ideal person. It's
right.
like, sometimes I've literally read scripts where the scripts are like, a very, The Rock. Like, the main character looks like The Rock. Draw him like
Okay.
The Rock. And then you just kind of figure out, like, is this like something you're pitching as a movie and you really want The Rock to star in it? Because, like, there's no real reason to have to draw this guy
Rock,
like
yeah.
The Rock. Or like, oh, this female character is a very, like, Cate Blanchett type. I'm like, I'm just going to draw the character how it is.
Yeah.
And it's never like, oh, Cate Blanchett. It's always like, well, like a young Cate Blanchett, but not quite. I'm just like, oh, just pick something and let's just go.
Right.
Like,
let me do a
what
character
hairstyle
design.
do you want? Patty Duke. Fine, we're good. We're on. We're moving on.
Patty Duke. You get Patty Duke often?
No, but that's when I always think of, like, Jack Kirby. It's always that, like,
Yes.
floop hairstyle.
Yes.
And I'm like, and
I always think for his female characters, I always think of how he did Sue Storm.
yeah,
Like,
it's
that's-
the Patty Duke, like,
Every
flip
time.
hairstyle. Yeah,
That's the character.
yeah. So you just.
So you love big monsters. What are your
Oh, yeah.
monsters? What do you love?
Oh, I mean, anybody that, like, Thor fought, or Fin Fang Foom or Korg, or any of the deviants or Inhumans that are, Kakaris, or Ulick the Troll, or the Abomination. Like, anybody, like the Hulk fought, like Rhino,
Monstery
Abomination.
characters.
Yeah.
Like those, like I have a couple of Kirby omnibuses, and
Oh,
they're
yeah.
just loaded with them.
Oh, well, I mean, even the things that aren't monstrous, he finds a way to work in. Like Jimmy Olsen and the Newsboy Legion in the future is so weirdly bizarre because it's like this post-apocalyptic future where they're all riding motorcycles and, fighting, like, gangs and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's so, like, this is a Jimmy Olsen story? Like, it's very, very kind of Mad Max-esque, and there's always a monster. I mean, again, like, I grew up with that stuff and watching things like Thundar the Barbarian.
Yes.
And, like, almost all the villain and monster designs
How has
he
that
designed.
property not been picked up? Because I remember loving that, even though it's like you watch it now and you're like, it's not.
Well,
so great.
it's all
But,
limited animation. I mean,
But
almost
it was
everything
really
from
great,
it. Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
I remember he had kind of a lightsaber. I remember enjoying
Oh, yeah,
that.
the fabulous Sun Sword,
So great. I loved that, and I loved Thundercats, and I was probably a little too old to love Thundercats,
Well, it's
but
funny.
I thought that was awesome.
When you talk about, comic books, have you been reading any of the Hanna-Barbera books that DC
No,
put
we
out?
actually just talked about it. Edward brought that in last
Yeah.
week.
The one to read if you like the sort of classic stuff, it's Space Quest. It's
I didn't know they had Space
Ghost,
Quest.
the Herculoids,
Yes.
Johnny Quest, Birdman,
Awesome. Edward was
Galaxy
talking
Trio.
about the Flintstones. Did you see the reimagined
Oh yeah,
Flintstones?
I've seen that. Yeah.
That looked pretty good.
Yeah, the Space Quest one though really looks like that style of like Space Ghost.
Oh,
like
I
think
love
it, I
that.
think it's like I forget who's doing the art on it, but they've really captured like the feel like you're watching those old like Race Bannon swings in and just like houses people.
See,
and,
it's so funny because we've talked about it on our shows. We talked about it on This Week in Geek. I didn't know those had started coming out.
Oh yeah.
So when he told me last week, it was like we started looking through and we're like, this is really amazing.
They did them in phases. So I think Space Quest was the first. I think that's in its third issue. Then there's like Wacky Races, Flintstones, Scooby-Doo Apocalypse.
Johnny Quest come yet?
I don't know yet.
I am waiting for Johnny Quest.
No. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, check out Space Quest. It's
Space
very,
Quest is-
it's
you
very
just hit my
heavy.
radar with
Like,
that one.
You get a lot of Space Ghost. You get a lot of Johnny Quest. You get a lot of, all those sort of stuff happening. It's really
Is Brack in it? Because that's the Space Ghost I want to see.
well. Dr. Zinn's in it.
Excellent.
So if you love Johnny Quest, you get Dr. Zinn and the big giant eyeball
Yes.
robots. And,
Oh my gosh, that's the greatest part.
Yeah.
Remember that in the beginning of the show?
Yeah.
And they'd have the giant eyeball thing, and you're like, yes, it better be in this episode.
Yeah. Well, there were only like 5
then
Johnny
you get-
Quest episodes
And then you
ever.
get Bandit again. You're
Yeah.
like, there's
You
no
get the
eyeball,
one
it's
with
Bandit.
You get the one with the old guy in the castle who's the Red Baron who's
Yes.
trying to get Race Bannon to shoot out.
Yeah, it's so awesome. I love all of that.
Yeah. So no. Yeah. If you get a chance, check them out. They're really cool. But I especially like the Space Quest one. It captures that feel and that essence really well.
Excellent. So, okay, I'm going to ask you the same question I asked before
Sure.
for other people. Of the books now, what do you say people should be reading? You're mentioning that, but what are some of the books that you're like, you know what? Everybody should be reading Saga, or everybody should be reading...
Okay, well, I'll go over some of the books that I've been reading, and you can take from you want. If you like horror books, you should be reading Afterlife with Archie by Francesco Francavilla. That is an extremely underrated love letter to every horror movie ever. And then The Strange Case of Sabrina, which is its companion. It is completely creepy.
I tried the Archie one, and it was great. That's a great recommend.
Yeah, they're both in that same vein of like, it's still those characters, but it's not like just gags and jokes. It's really like, what if Sabrina really was a dark witch, and her aunts were really dark witches, and she's struggling with being a high school teen and yet being like the bride of the devil. And
that's
like
awesome.
Yeah. Let me see. What other books have I been reading and checking out? Tokyo Ghost by
I don't know this
Sean
one.
Gordon Murphy. It's an image book. It's he also did books like Job the Barbarian.
Okay.
Okay,
that's good stuff.
The premise behind Tokyo Ghost is, in the future, everybody's plugged in. Like, media's like a drug.
Yeah.
In fact, everyone's so plugged in that they just have 40 different feeds. People are addicted to media. And there's one place, Japan, an EMP has gone off. And so it's the one place that's devoid of media and technology. It's sort of like almost like a giant Amish settlement, if you will.
Okay.
Like just tech doesn't work there.
Okay.
And all the powerful media conglomerates want that. That is virgin real estate that they want. That is untapped.
Okay.
Because everybody, it's like with entertainment, everybody wants the new next thing.
Right.
So they need new places to go to keep their audience, checked. So it's really a lot about, it's really cool art that's sort of like media versus non-media. And the whole concept of the Tokyo Ghost is the one character is the reason Tokyo, is a safe zone is because there's one individual that's been genetically engineered to emit an EMP.
Okay.
So that no tech will work within a certain radiance of her. And she's what they call the Tokyo
Ghost. That makes sense.
And
awesome.
then the other side of it is a law enforcement sort of agent who's full for the media conglomerates and their clash and their, stuff like that. Let me see. What other... it's funny, whenever you ask people, what are they reading, it always goes out of their heads.
Well, that or you can only think of what you're reading right now. Because I just read one, and I can't tell you the name of it.
Yeah.
And I had such a great time reading it.
Yeah.
This girl's sister was killed, and she gets, you might know it when I say it, she gets on
my iPad?
Ship that looks like a tanker ship that takes her to the far reach of the galaxy.
Oh, Southern Cross, yeah.
Was it Southern Cross? That was so good.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, excuse me for a sec.
Yeah, she knows more than I do about this stuff. So
yeah. Oh, and going back to
to me, it's like I loved it so much, and I couldn't come up with that name to save my life.
Yeah, that's another thing that I like about digital comics.
You can look in your past.
I can look it up. It's so much easier than being like, oh, I don't know. I've got to pull out 40 long boxes to tell you what I've got.
Yeah, it's like I just read the first two graphic collections of The Boys, and I had never read those, and I'm just absolutely in love with them.
Yeah,
they're not for the kids.
So yeah,
not for the kids.
So Paper Girls, which is a story set in 1980.
Oh, I've got that one. Yeah.
And it's like a weird sci-fi tale about these four girls who do a paper route in 1980, and the strange sci-fi stuff that sort of they have to deal with, which is just goofy. It's called Paper Girls, like Paper Boys.
Martha's looking this one up.
They're the Paper Girls. Then Kaiju Max, which is if you like Godzilla movies or
Yes.
anything like that, it's sort of the premise is that Monster Island, the Godzilla movies, is a supermax prison for these like super creatures.
That all sounds so good. Why
So
isn't that in my house
it's
now?
It's basically Oz meets kaiju. Like they talk and they have conversations
That's
and,
awesome.
and all that stuff.
Is there a neo-Nazi kaiju like
no, but there's like a religious.
J.K. Simmons?
No, but there's like all the mechas are actually they've got religion, so they're like the Muslims in prison. They're like the Muslim gang.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
They're like, brother, come with us and we'll talk to you about. Like, it's really it's very interesting.
I am all about that.
And you see the one that's clearly Mecha Godzilla, and you see the one that's clearly you know.
Do they have the King Kong one? Remember the King
Yeah,
Kong?
they do.
Oh.
Like the mafia head is like King Whale or something like that, and then like he has his little his little son with them, and like if you're really stupid and like just borderline an idiot, they call you a Godzuki. They call you a Zuki.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
I love Godzuki.
Yeah, it's so.
Here's how old I am. I saw that
like,
in the theater.
Yeah, like they build their own sort of language. And then like Jupiter's Legacy. I read that book.
Yeah, that's a good book too. Southern Bastards is a
Southern
great
Bastards.
book.
Moon Knight, really good, very underrated.
Yeah.
Huck, I read, it was really
Don't
good.
know that one.
Just other stuff.
Boy, you read some comics.
Well, it's funny. One of the really great things that I like about digital comics, and I know my parents would have loved this back in the day, is that much like with like HBO Go codes, you can just share your login. So my girlfriend and I, we share like our Comixology account.
That's awesome.
So we just get books that we both like, and then we can just read whatever we want.
Oh, that's really good.
Like through our different devices. We don't have to like share a device or share a book.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, you can buy a book once rather than like having that thing where like my brothers and I'd have to fight it out.
Everybody has to have
who
one.
would get that issue of Batman or whatever.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, so
I agree.
So it's and it's Comixology rules it all. There were others, but it's
Comixology is the way to go.
Well, it's pretty much how like Beta and VHS came out. Like one just wins, and there isn't enough demand of a market to push for all that.
Marvel U I enjoy quite a bit too.
Oh, a lot of people do.
Yeah, but I'm a big fan of Image and Dark Horse and all that. So it's great to get those indie press in there. Oni is on there. I mean, it's great.
That's the thing. I just find at this point I read a lot more alternative publishers rather than the big two.
Yeah.
Just because.
Me too.
Well,
it gets more interesting. There's a lot of really incredible ideas and artwork out there.
The more you read mainstream comics, the more you start seeing them recycle the same storylines, and so you kind of get bored a little bit. So you're like, well, what else? And you also follow your writers and creators to their own projects, where you're like, oh, this is what they could do if they really were sort of unchained.
Right.
Right.
Tom, give your social media.
Oh, okay.
Let people know where they can get stuff, where they can see you, and whatever cons you got coming up.
Okay, well, my social media, I'm on, Pinterest, Tumblr, Facebook, Reddit, Stumbled Upon. So my main page is my DeviantArt page, which is tomkellyart.deviantart.com. My Facebook page is Tom Kelly, but I think if you go Tom, TOMMM9, that will get you directly to me on Facebook. You won't have to sift through like 80 Toms.
Yeah.
And then Twitter and Pinterest and Tumblr are all Tom Kelly art.
Great.
Great.
Yeah, and like I said, I go to the DeviantArt page quite a bit. There's so much great stuff
Well,
there.
like I said, I post new artwork at least twice a week, not including the other stuff that I'm working on. So I'm very regular on all those feeds. So.
Yeah. So definitely check it out. And if you guys want to see his stuff up here, I'm sure he has some stuff for sale too. So definitely check it out. Oh, you're following on Pinterest.
Nice. All right. Yeah.
There you go.
I love Pinterest. It's
Tom,
super fun.
Thank you so much. Did anyone have a question before I let him go?
Anybody?
Oh, Kevin does.
Oh, it's called Touching Evil. Yeah, if you look it up, just look up. You have to do it as Touching Evil the comic or Touching Evil Dan Doherty comic book, because there's actually other like movies
Wasn't there a TV show or something
Yeah.
called Touching Evil?
Yeah. So like when you Google it, you have to do it like specifically
Della
like
Reese in
comic
it or
book-
something like that. You don't want the Della Reese stuff.
or maybe you do, but
Maybe
you know.
you do. Della Reese.
But yeah, other shows I'm going to be at. I will not be at Wizard World Chicago. The next show I'll be at is the Cincinnati Comic Expo.
Okay.
And then after that, it'll be New York Comic Con.
Awesome.
So,
Awesome. Well, follow him, find him in Artist Alley, come buy a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Tom, thank you,
Thank you very
so
much.
much. Thank you, Blue Box.